to the Mission Dorothy podcast with your hostess, Tamekis Williams. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me here today at Mission Dorothy, the podcast. Today, I want to bring you part 2 of the boundary series. And so today I just want to do a little bit better job of defining boundaries, and we're going to talk about rigid boundaries. We're going to talk about when your boundaries are too loose. We're also going to talk about different types of boundaries, as well as ways to set and maintain good boundaries. All right. And so we may also talk a little bit about, I guess it just depends on how long. I might have to do a 3-parter, but let's get started. So I hope you guys are doing great. I know that this whole COVID thing is still weighing on us all, and I know that it's starting to rev back up. And so we have to continue to make sure that we are keeping ourselves and our families safe and doing what we can in order to keep others safe. All right. So with that said, I hope you guys did get some good information out of the last episode, Boundaries, Part 1. I cannot explain to you guys how important it is to set boundaries in your life, and especially with people that are toxic, as well as setting boundaries with thoughts that are toxic and behaviors that are toxic, right? And so, yes, is it easier to set boundaries with people versus with yourself? Yes, for some. But it is important because as we talk about boundaries and we talk about loose boundaries, you would definitely understand what I'm saying. So what are boundaries? I think everybody is aware of the term boundaries and what it means, right? And so basically, a lot of times people may look at boundaries as like you're kind of drawing the line in the sand, which you are, but it doesn't have to be so rigid, right? Boundaries are meant to be, how do I say? God, the word is on the tip of my tongue. I can't even think of it. But, they're changeable. You can change your boundaries. You can, it's kind of like a working behavior, right? So sometimes you may have to change. You can remove boundaries. You can place boundaries. You can strengthen your boundaries. You can relax your boundaries so they aren't meant to be just so rigid. Now, with certain people, certain thoughts, certain behaviors, they need to be rigid so that you can hold yourself accountable, not put yourself in toxic situations, and they need to be rigid, but they don't have to be rigid at the gate if it's not necessary, right? And so I want you guys to really think about boundaries as being part of your self-care, right? It's important for you to understand, how to set and maintain healthy boundaries so that you can avoid feelings of disappointment and anger and resentment and, those emotions that can cause some depression and anxiety and some self-doubt and some low self-esteem, within you, right? And so I talk a lot about boundaries with my clients, of setting boundaries and the importance of setting boundaries for your mental health. Sometimes you have to set those boundaries so that to reduce depression, to, lower the anxiety, right? To reduce the chances of trauma and, that type of thing. And so definitely, boundaries are key. So let's talk about rigid boundaries. So when we talk about rigid boundaries, sometimes that can look like keeping others at a distance, right? Sometimes you can set boundaries with people that are close to you, and your boundary could be detachment, right? And with that being said about detachment, a lot of times, I see that people utilize boundaries, or let me take that back, utilize detachment as a boundary, and they're thinking that it is a healthy way to respond, right? And we're talking mostly about intimate partners, who you're in a relationship with, and family. And so sometimes you have to be mindful that detaching from the marriage when you're still married, that is not going to work, right? And so that's when your good communication skills come in. That's when those 4 T's of communication: time, tone, technique, and truth should be utilized. Detachment is never the right choice when you're in a marriage, right? You have to work the issues out. You can't just detach and then just say you're going to just focus on yourself and then go on about your business when you still have this obligation as a husband or a wife in this union, right? And so you can't just detach. You can't detach in a relationship and, you're with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, and still be in a relationship. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? If you're going to detach, then that's you leaving the relationship, but you can't detach and still stay in the relationship. Like, no, that's too rigid of a boundary. You have to use your other skills. And that is, like I said, is communication. It is thought challenging. It is being mindful of your negative thinking styles. It is working as a partner with your mate, right? And so it's the two of you guys working together to find solutions versus turning away from each other. You would need to turn toward each other, right? So when we talk about rigid boundaries and detaching, no, that's never the way, right? Keeping your distance, it depends on who the person is and what they have done, right? Now, if they've done something that is detrimental when it comes to your safety, then definitely you want to keep a distance, right? That is a healthy boundary when you are setting a boundary to stay away from someone that is toxic, okay? So third, so we've talked about keep others at a distance as a rigid boundary, detachment as a rigid boundary with intimate partners. Third, we're looking at people who choose to have just a few close friends. I don't really fool with women like that. I've heard that said so many times, and it's really the wrong attitude to have. It's just that you've been fooling with the wrong type of women or little girls, right? If you can find your tribe, I tell you, it's nothing like having fantastic women in your circle, right? It's nothing like having that. So allowing this fear of, your feelings being hurt, sabotage, somebody trying to steal your man or your girl, no, you got to learn how to be a good judge of character, right? So some people will kind of keep their little core 3 friends and then cut off the channels of trying to meet new people. And you just never know what opportunities come when you're meeting new people. So setting that rigid boundary of, I'm going to only have a few close friends and that's just it. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves, right? Because the common denominator with all these friends is you. So if you find yourself having to cut off a whole lot of friends versus just 1 or 2, then you might need to look in the mirror at yourself and see what's going on with you. Because you could end up being the problem and it ain't them, right? So having such a rigid boundary of just keeping that little core, little 2-3 friends, all it is a defense mechanism. You're afraid. You're afraid of being misused, treated, negatively abused and that type of thing. But when you are, looking at how you judge character and really, taking your time to build these relationships instead of just being friends with anybody that show interest, then you can see the difference. Because everybody don't deserve to be in your life. Everybody don't deserve to be in your inner circle, You know what I'm saying? But especially for the young group, the under 25s, like everybody is your best friend. No, everybody cannot be your best friend, right? Best friend title is a title that should be deserved, right? It should be rewarded for their support, their kindness, them being able to give you what you give them. Like it should be an honor, right? It shouldn't just be assigned just to anybody because y'all, been hanging out for the last 3 weeks and y'all, been turning up and having a good time. And now that's my best friend. Go best friend, go best friend. That's my, no. No, that's just your associate who you tend to have fun with. But over time, that friendship could evolve into you guys being best friends. So definitely that rigidness of a few close relationships or friendships, no, that's a little bit too rigid because you're honestly blocking your blessings, because so much goodness can come with having good quality people in your tribe. Okay. All right. And then fourth, when we talk about rigid boundaries is it's just like what we talked about with the close friends. It's avoiding close relationships, right? You may have some people who choose to be single because they're just afraid and tired of getting hurt. They're tired of going through going through trying to get to know somebody and starting all over and, just kind of overwhelmed because it's like, how many times do I have to keep doing this before I can meet my person? So then they will close themselves off and just stay single, but they don't understand that fear of getting hurt or being tired is stopping you from possibly allowing the person who's for you into your life. When you're blocking out the bad, please hear me when I say this. Please hear me when I say this. When you block the bad by using defense mechanisms and rigid boundaries, you are also blocking the good. When you create these life bubbles, right? Life bubbles is, well, I'm going to only have my little core group of friends. I'm going to only do this. I'm going to only do that. And you're just afraid to step outside the bubble. Like, you are also blocking the goodness while you're trying to block the bad, the negativity, the hurt, the pain, the letdown, the lack of satisfaction, being tired, starting over, all of those types of things. You're blocking your own happiness. If the door closed, how he gonna get through it? Girl, how you gonna know he on the other side of that door? You know what I'm saying? So, honey, keep that door cracked. Okay, as you learn how to set your boundaries, you take your time. You can go on dates. You don't have to move too fast. It's at your own pace. You get to know, whether it's an intimate, romantic relationship or a friendship. Take your time and get to know the person. Don't rush. All right. So that's an example of rigid boundaries. I'm going to say it again. Keeping others at a distance, detaching while in relationships, having just that little 2-3 little core group of friends and saying you content when you're not, because when y'all fall out and get mad at each other, you wish you had some other friends you can, hang out with, call and talk to. Yes, let's keep it 100, right? And avoiding close relationships, afraid to allow people to get close to you because you've been hurt, because somebody did you wrong. Guess what? They gone. That person that hurt you, the friend who did you wrong, who talked about you, who said they was going to keep your information private and they shared it with other people. Guess what? You got rid of them. They gone. So don't block your blessings for the transgressions of somebody else. Like, no. You keep getting your blessings while you remove that person out of your life. People should deserve to be in your space, not automatically be able to just come on in. Okay? No. So let's move on. Let's move on to loose or open boundaries. Loose or open boundaries. Number one, when you have loose or open boundaries, meaning that your boundaries are not strong enough, we have a spectrum here, right? So you have loose on the left, you have rigid on the right, and then in the middle, you have healthy boundaries. So when you got them loose boundaries and them open boundaries, you tend to get too involved with other folks' problems. Taking on other people's problems that has nothing to do with you. Loose boundary. Loose. Then you wonder why your attitude stink. You wonder why you irritated and you frustrated and ain't nothing going wrong in your life. But guess what? You holding on to somebody else's stuff. Yeah, I said it. I said it, girl. I did. You holding on to somebody else's stuff. I hope that conviction is kicking in. Because I want you to learn how to set healthy boundaries instead of being on this roller coaster of rigid and loose, right? So when your boundaries are too loose, you get too involved with other people's problems. You take on their pain, right? You are overstretching yourself and getting involved in some mess that you have nothing to do with. Now, it's a difference with being there and being a friend and trying to, help and be supportive and, do all of those types of things. Like, it's a difference with that. Right? That's just you being a good friend. But sometimes you do have to set the boundaries when you get too wrapped up into other people's problems. Now you're in the issue. And you looking around trying to figure out how I get into this. Because you ain't set that boundary. You didn't stay in that little place of just listening and trying to give a little sound advice. Instead, you jumped on over in it. And now you're a part of it. And those same emotions that this person came to you with, now you're feeling them. Loose boundaries. People will walk all over that. And especially if that's your role in people's life. Is that your role in people's life? Go look in the mirror and go ask yourself, girl, is that our role in people's life? It better not be. Okay? So definitely you got to set boundaries when it comes to getting involved with other people's problems. You don't have to, in order to help people, you don't always have to jump in. You can help from afar sometimes. You can help from the sideline. You don't always have to jump in. You know what I'm saying? So you have to set that boundary. You can give some insight. You can give some advice. You can help them to explore other options. You can help them to try to see the situation differently. You can help them to try to put the other person's shoes on. But sweetheart, you do not have to put on their shoes and jump into that mess. You don't have to. You don't. So take stock. If you find yourself getting wrapped up in other people's problems all the time, you need to set some boundaries, honey, and they need to be stronger than what you're doing. All right. Number 2, if you have loose or open boundaries, you find it difficult to say no. Oh, there go that 2-letter word, N-O. N-O. Right? So you're that yes person. Sure, I'll do that for you. No problem. Girl, yeah, I'll knock that out. Girl, just send it to me and I'll do it. Is that you? Knowing good and well when you start doing the task, you trying to figure out why the hell you decided to say yes. But yet you too afraid to say no. Why? Because you're going to hurt their feelings. Because you don't want them to feel bad. because you don't want to look like a bad person. You know what I'm saying? And so instead, you have to set the boundary. You overstretching yourself. You can't even focus on you, your life, your mental health, your goals, your professional, personal, your relationship, time with your children, all of that, because you're so busy doing stuff for everybody else. For everybody else. And you're being neglected. So when you're a yes person, you have no boundaries, honey. It ain't even loose. It ain't even open. You have none. None. And that's why you find yourself overwhelmed, tired, frustrated, anxious, depressed sometimes, mad, short patient, snappy. Does that resonate? Because it's okay. It's okay if you are some of these examples. It's okay. You're learning, right? You can't be held responsible until you know. So once you finish this episode, guess what? Now you know. Now it's time to do something about it, right? So if you are a yes person and you're saying yes to everything, everybody, every event, like, no, you got to set some boundaries, sweetheart, because you're going to run yourself in the ground if you haven't already. Blood pressure high. Okay. Tired because you ain't getting enough rest because you're trying to do it all. You got to learn how to delegate, give people their responsibilities back, say no when you need to say no, give yourself some time to think about it. You know what? I can't answer you right now, but give me a minute to think about it and I'll get back to you. That's the go-to. If you are a person who is always saying yes when you really want to say no, just say, you know what, girl, give me a little time to think about that and I'll get back to you. Make sure, go think about it. Go conjure up your nerves, right? And then you contact them and you say, hey, I'm sorry, girl, I won't even be able to do it. Or you could say, well, you know what? I can do this, but I won't be able to do the other things. Right? Or you know what? I could probably come by for a good 30 minutes and then I'm going to have to leave early. Like, be assertive. Stand up for you, for your time, like your talent, really. Because if you allow people to walk over you, boo, they going to do it. They will do it. Okay? Third, loose or open boundaries. You tend to overshare personal information with others. Overshare. Tell too much. Putting folks all up entwined in your business. You walking away like, dang, I shouldn't even said all that. Why did I tell her that? Right? Boundary. Be mindful. If you know you're an oversharer, pull it back. Everybody don't need to know all of your business. As a therapist, we're trained to, be mindful of what we share with clients. And you have some therapists who won't share anything. So they won't even tell their clients they have kids. Now, I can understand that if you're working with a certain population, right? But for me, I feel I share, but I don't share no more than what I want to share. I'm mindful of what I share. Right? I feel like, some of the things that I've been through in my life, I went through those things, not just for me, but for my clients, for you all. That way I can really relate to what it is that you're going through. So if I share anything in my sessions, it's because I've already done the work. I've already healed. And I'm just sharing so you can understand that you ain't by yourself, that I totally get it and I understand where you're coming from personally. And sometimes I share just so you can see how I was able to make it through. And maybe you can take something from my story that can help you heal, that can help you move forward and get unstuck. But when you oversharing and you walk away with that feeling of, man, I said too much, then that means that you're not conscious of your own personal boundaries with yourself. And you got to go back to the drawing board and, think about what do you want to share and what do you not want to share? And be mindful when you're speaking, because that way you know when to kind of like cut it off. Right? So oversharing personal information with others can definitely be loose boundaries if you're just sharing a little bit too much. Right? You putting all your business out there, all of your family business to people who don't even deserve it. Like I tell clients, be mindful, because everybody does not deserve to hear your story. Why? Because they are going to misuse and abuse your information. Everybody ain't worthy. Just like everybody ain't worthy for your body, everybody is not worthy to know all of your personal information. So be mindful of that oversharing boundary. All right. Fourth, we have, if you have loose or open boundaries, you seek to please others for fear of rejection. We know what that is. What's the term? Start with 2 P's. People pleaser. People pleaser. When you are a people pleaser, you are sacrificing your own feelings for fear of rejection. So that's you putting yourself out there, doing things that you know you really don't want to do, but you're doing it just to please other people. And the sad part about it, who's to say that they really feel pleased? Who's to say that they appreciate what you're doing? You might think they appreciate it, but how do you know? While you're overextending yourself, while you crossing all your boundaries, right? People pleasers are often pouring from an empty cup, filling up everybody else while you're walking around on empty. So then you're walking around feeling overwhelmed, probably hurt, having some doubt, anxious, could be depressed, exhausted. Like check in with that. If you are a people pleaser, think about that. You're sacrificing your own happiness, time, attention for somebody else, and they might not even appreciate it. Because most of the time, you're people pleasing to people who you shouldn't be doing it to anyways. It's a difference when we talk about being nice and kind and people pleasing. And a lot of people get nice and kind mixed up with people pleasing. No, it's a difference. Because nice and kind have boundaries. Nice and kind, they can still say no. But people pleasers, no, you're going to be yes. Sure, of course I could do that. Yeah, girl, I'll do that. Yes, I'll stay late and help you clean up. Girl, send that report to me. I'll go ahead and do it. Think about it. Think about on your job, especially if you in leadership. And your subordinates are sending you, their work half done. And instead of you sending it back, you sit and do it, just trying to please them so they won't be mad at you. Huh? Girl, you getting paid for that extra work. While they over there chilling, while they at home with their family, out to dinner, spending time with their kids, doing homework, reading a story to their baby, and you sitting at the office and it's late. No. So people pleasing, you have boundary issues. Oversharing, boundary issues. Can't say no, boundary issues. Always in other people's mess, boundary issues. Do y'all get, y'all see what can you see it? Right? So the goal here is, like I said, is to have healthy boundaries. People with healthy boundaries understands that making their expectations clear helps in two ways, right? People who have healthy boundaries understand that making their expectations clear helps in two ways. A, it establishes what behavior you will accept from other people, right? So you're setting that boundary to let people know, look, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't accept. It's your non-negotiables and your negotiables. It establishes what behaviors you will accept from other people when you have clear boundaries. You're letting people know, look, here's what I will accept and here's what I won't accept. And you're giving them a choice. If you good with that, cool. If not, bye. I'm just keeping it real. Because when we talk about boundaries, we don't have time to sugarcoat. Y'all know I'm not a sugarcoater anyways. But we don't have time to sugarcoat when it comes to boundaries because sugarcoating is an issue. Sometimes you just need it raw and rugged. In your face, period. You understand what I'm saying? And the second way is it establishes what behavior other people can expect from you. So basically you're saying when you have healthy boundaries, look, here's my non-negotiables and my negotiables. And guess what? What I'm asking of you, I'm also going to give you. So this is a two-way street, right? It establishes what behaviors other people can expect from you, and establish. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Establish what you will and will not deal with other people. That's what healthy boundaries do. But a lot of people are afraid to set that boundary. It will save you a lot of emotional heartache and pain when you learn how to set boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And so also, if you have healthy boundaries, you might also share personal information appropriately, not too much and not too little. You may understand your personal needs and wants and know how to communicate them. You will also value your own opinion. I gotta get me some sound, some little sound little things, cause I gotta get me some little acoustics going on, because my God, you will value your own opinion. That means that you will value your own voice. You will value your own decisions. It will reduce the self-doubt, the thinking, the self-sabotaging, the imposter syndrome. You will value your own opinions when you learn how to set healthy boundaries. And also, you will accept when others tell you no. Why? Because you understand boundaries. And guess what? You won't be upset about it. Because you will understand that other people have the right to set their own boundaries. Now, many of us definitely have a mixture of rigid, healthy, and loose boundaries. Right? Let's take a look at that. So let's just say you might have strict boundaries on the job. But then your boundaries at home may be a little looser, right? Your boundaries with your close friends may be loose, but your boundaries with your associates may be rigid, right? And then we also have to be mindful of the cultural aspect, right? Because sometimes cultures may clash. You know, cultures have different ideologies, right? And so sometimes you may even have to set a boundary there. And so what that can look like is, you know, some cultures may find sharing your personal information is not appropriate, right? While others may encourage it. So you have to be mindful of that within your own culture, but also when you're dealing with other people of different cultures. They may not move the way you move. And so you definitely have to be respectful of that. Right? And so we're going to talk about types of boundaries, and then in part 3, we will talk about 10 ways to set and maintain boundaries, okay? So let's look at different types of boundaries. So in that last podcast, I gave you some examples. You know, we talked about, you know, boundaries, the importance of boundaries. I shared a book that will be fantastic for you guys to read called Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. You know, so I tried to give you guys resources that you can go out and get to help further this work moving forward. Okay. And also, if you're in therapy and you know you have boundary issues, please make sure that you talk to your therapist about that. Because, you know, the boundary issue is a big one, and it shows up in every aspect of your life when you don't have healthy boundaries. That's when you start putting yourself in situations, and then you start having a whole lot of issues. All right. So types of boundaries. So we're looking at 5 different types of boundaries, right? It's like, kind of like your 5 senses, but 5 different types of boundaries. So we're looking at physical boundaries. We're looking at sexual boundaries. We're looking at intellectual boundaries. We're also looking at emotional boundaries, and we're looking at financial boundaries. You say, well, dog, Tamekis, that's a lot of different types of boundaries. Yeah, it is. We're complex human beings. And so that's why it's important for us to be mindful of our 8 dimensions of wellness. Those are emotional, financial, spiritual, social, occupational, physical, intellectual, and environmental. Right? Some of these we will be talking about. 4 of these we will be talking about from the 8 dimensions of wellness. And then we're adding sexual. Honey, sexual boundaries, I can do probably 10 episodes on that one. But we gonna keep it short today, okay? So, physical boundaries. Physical boundaries refers to your personal space, your privacy, and your body. Let me say it again. Physical boundaries refer to your personal space, your privacy, and your body, your temple. I keep stressing body, I know. You know. Y'all know why I keep stressing body. You might be someone who is comfortable with public displays of affection, right? That PDA, them hugs, kisses, the hand holding. Or you might be someone who prefers not to be touched in public. So as we talk about physical boundaries, that's what physical boundaries are. You're setting a boundary when it comes to your physical space. Who can be in your physical space? Do you like people all up on you? Do you like people, when they, standing near you, they might bump into you? Like, do you like people within 2 feet from you, 1 foot from you? Do you like people all up in your personal space or not? Right? And if you don't like people in your personal space, it's okay to say that. And if they don't respect it, too bad. You move and you keep on moving on. Right? Meaning you move, you step to the side, that type of thing, and you keep on going with your day or your night or whatever. Right? But, people, especially now, especially with the COVID, honey, look, I'm so OCD about this COVID-19 virus. Even though, and you guys have probably been through this too, but you can, I've been in the store plenty of times with my mask on, and you have so many people with their mask off. And when you get in line, they are like right up on you. Now, people with poor and open boundaries, what will they do? Nothing. People with healthy boundaries won't mind saying, I'm sorry, excuse me, but can you please social distance? That's me. When even though I have on a mask, you don't have yours on. So therefore, I need you to give me 6 feet, social distance, respect my physical space. That's all I'm asking. Nice. I'm not loud, disrespectful, any of that. Just respect my physical space. Right? So that's what it looks like to set a boundary with your physical space by asking someone, I'm sorry, do you mind stepping back just a little bit? Right? Let's talk about your privacy. That goes back to loose boundaries, right? You might overshare. You're telling a little bit too much of your business, right? You really have no privacy because you're telling everybody everything. You feel like you got to talk to everybody about everything. You got to run your decisions by everybody because you don't trust your own voice, right? So when it comes to your privacy, you have every right to set boundaries when it comes to your privacy. Everybody does not need to be in your business. Everybody does not need to know all of your business. You don't have to tell all of your business in order to, seek validation or seek acceptance or be fearful of rejection. No. When it comes to your privacy, set your boundary. Everybody don't need to know everything. Everybody don't deserve to know everything. Everybody is not going to respect your privacy, even if they say they ain't gonna tell nobody. Some people may, and some people may take it to their grave. You know what I'm saying? So your privacy, definitely, you can set boundaries there. That's an example of physical boundaries. Personal space, your privacy. Now let's talk about your body. Now, body. This is a PG example when it comes to hugging, kissing, that PDA, public of affection. Some people just don't like PDA. Then you got people on the other spectrum. Some folks are exhibitionists and love for people to watch them be romantic, kissing, hugging, and all that. I never forget I was at Houston's in Atlanta. This was some years back. And we were waiting because, Houston is always busy. And there was families in there waiting who had small children. And there was a couple in there. Now, mind you, the Houston's waiting area is not that big in the first place, if you guys have ever been there. But there was a couple there, and they were all up on each other. Right? Now, as a single woman, hey, get it, girl. You know what I'm saying? But there is a such thing as respecting other people. Now, PDA is fine. Little kiss there, little hug there, little hand holding. You know what I'm saying? But when you deep throating and you got a 3-year-old, 5-year-old literally standing right there next to you, not your children, but somebody else's kids. When you're standing in a restaurant waiting area and y'all are deep throating as if you're in your bedroom under the sheets. Now, it's a difference between a kiss, a little quick tongue, and then deep throating. Baby, they was getting it in. Do you hear me? And all you could hear was the whispers. Oh, you look and say, they need to get a room. Guess what? What your girl say? I'm sorry, excuse me, but do y'all mind? It's little kids right here watching you guys. I don't mean any disrespect. That's what I said. And they was like, oh, we are so sorry. We didn't even know the kids was right there. You know, though it wasn't even my children. But being the social worker that I am, you know. Everybody was whispering. I'm just like, well, if we all appalled by it, can somebody say something? Right? I didn't mean any disrespect, but honestly, like, for real, y'all, it was sloppy. Like, I mean, that kiss was so passionate. Lord, I really wanted to go up to old girl and just give her a high five. But thinking about the babies, I'm just like, okay, y'all, this is way too much. You know, I know those are not your children. You're not responsible for them. But, you know, we want to all respect others, right? We want respect. We want to give respect and we want to get respect. You know what I'm saying? So physical boundaries, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to do some PDA, but, you know, we can get a little PG-13. That kiss right there, baby, it was X. It was rated X. Like, that kiss was everything. Do you hear me? Now, if them kids went in there, I would not have said a word to them. Not a word. If the children weren't standing right there. But, you know, I just was like, I mean, anywho. So physical boundaries. It's okay to set physical boundaries. And let me just say this. It's important to set physical boundaries with yourself too. Now, let me just talk to those who may have utilized sex to build their self-esteem. Let me talk to those who may have utilized sex as a way to feel needed, wanted, and valued. Sweetheart, you got to set you some boundaries with your body. Everybody does not deserve to see your naked body, touch your naked body, and enter your naked body. You understand what I'm saying? You have to learn to set the boundaries when it comes to your body. You don't want to use your body as a way to build, to feel, to build your self-esteem. Like, you don't want to use your body as this object that will allow people to misuse and abuse your body. Right? You want to use your body the way you choose to use it, not how they want to use it. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to set that boundary when it comes to your physical body. Everybody don't need to touch you. Everybody ain't got to have the opportunity to have sex with you just because y'all talking. Don't use your body because you think it's going to keep a dude around. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to set that boundary with yourself to respect your own body, as well as you want other people to respect your body as well. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is that if you don't respect your own body, then why would anybody else respect? Why would the dudes respect it? You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to your body, stop using your body to feel good emotionally. Now, if you want to feel good physically, and you want to use your body, do you. I ain't here to tell you not to do you. You know what I'm saying? But be responsible about it. You know, good example, I watched this, I'm always looking for new stuff to watch on YouTube. And so I watched this show. It's a channel, I think it's called Soft White Underbelly. But they interviewed this girl who, I can't remember how old she was. She had to be probably like in her early 30s, maybe either late 20s, early 30s. But she was a swinger. She was a nudist, and she was a cam model, a camera girl, or, you know, the girls who stand in front of the camera and do stuff, and I guess they make money from it, right? And so the guy interviewed her because his channel is all about interviewing people who usually would not be interviewed, right? I mean, he have some stuff on there. So, like, he's interviewing meth addicts. He's interviewing pimps, prostitutes. I mean, he got some folks on there now. You know, his views are very high, right? Like, his videos are in the millions of views each video, because he's putting people on camera that is not usually on camera to speak their reality, right? To speak their truth, you know. And I think that, you know, some people may feel like he's exploiting these people, and I don't know what his core intentions are, you know, but I think that if his core intentions are good, I'm sorry, y'all, I know I done went to left a little bit, but if his core intentions are good, then cool. You know what I'm saying? Because our life is not just about the straight and narrow. You know, people got all kinds of issues and situations, and, you know, they have a truth. You know what I'm saying, too? Whether it's substance abuse, pimping, being a prostitute, a sex worker, whatever you want to call it. Like, look, they living just like everybody else. They trying to make a living just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, so he interviewed the girl, and, you know, she just talked about her life. She talked about how when she was, you know, raised, her mother was sexual, and she talked about, you know, her mother didn't raise her to do what she do, but her mother gave her kind of, I guess, you know, raised her just like anybody else. But she recognized at an early age that she was a very sexual being. And somewhere, I can't remember all what she said, but somewhere along the line, she was just saying that she knew that this was the type of work she wanted to do when she was in her teens. And when she turned 18, she got started, right? And what I liked about her interview, and I think what other people liked about her interview, because I definitely went to the comments, and I just really was expecting people to be eating her alive. I didn't go far. I probably read about a good 10 or less comments. But people were talking about how much they love her, that they, you know, wish that they was as brave as her, that, you know, just her ownership of what she's doing. And that's what I mean by, if you are a person who really enjoys sex, right? And you don't want commitments, you enjoy having multiple partners, you enjoy exhibition or swinging or, you know, just kind of turning things up a little bit, like, cool. You know what I'm saying? I ain't here to judge in no form or fashion, because everybody got the right to live their life the way that they want to live their life. But what I do love about it is that she is owning her truth, right? She is not looking to use her body to build her self-esteem, to seek validation, to, you know, misuse her body in such a way where she's giving it away and she's, you know, not getting much back in return. You know what I'm saying? Like, she owns her sexuality. She's confident with it. She's willing to get on camera and talk about her work just like somebody who may be a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? Like, second nature, you know? So that's what I liked about her. I liked the fact that she wasn't afraid to live in her truth. And so when we talk about bodies, when we talk about body boundaries, and, you know, the next boundary on this list is sexual, right? Sexual boundaries. These are the expectations concerning intimacy. Sexual comments and touches might be uncomfortable to you, right? So having sexual boundaries. If you know that you are not a person who is comfortable with having a threesome, don't put yourself in a situation to where that could happen. Don't be in a relationship with someone and you know that they like threesomes. Don't get in a relationship thinking you can change them, right? Like, don't put yourself in situations where you can be exposed to the things that you don't want to do sexually. If you don't like oral, or if you don't like back door knocking, like, say that. Don't do it just trying to be the people pleaser. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Like, at the end of the day, I think sex is about being comfortable with you, your body, and satisfaction, enjoyment. Like, I ain't in it if you all about just pleasing yourself, we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? Because a sister want to be pleased too, right? And so when we talk about physical body boundaries, we talk about sexual boundaries, like, all that starts with you being comfortable with your body, first and foremost, being comfortable with your body. Because there are a lot of women out there who ain't never looked down there with a mirror. You have no idea what your girl look like. Some of y'all even afraid to touch her. Like, if you're not aware of what arouses you, if you're not aware of how you can reach orgasm, how do you think they gonna be able to, I mean, what I'm trying to say, I'm getting tongue tied. Sex is about pleasure. So if you are not familiar with what brings you pleasure, how can you teach somebody to pleasure you? So then all it becomes is you just pleasuring them, and then you're not being pleased. So if you're, in a relationship where your sexual boundaries are always being crossed, your partner is not listening to you, if your partner is trying to have sex with you while you sleep, you got to set some boundaries. And it's okay. Trust, it's okay to set boundaries. It doesn't mean that you're selfish. It doesn't mean, that you're being mean. All it means is that you respect yourself, you respect your body, you respect your freedom of choice, and you're just sharing that with people. Right? And either they can respect it or not. But at least you put it out there and you're holding steadfast to not allowing them to push past your boundaries. You understand what I'm saying? So when this young lady owned her sexuality, she owned the work that she do. She talked about what it does for her, why she started doing it. Like, she's 100% clear. The girl did not stutter at all. Okay? So that is important, to be conscious of your own sexual needs, to be conscious of your own body, to be conscious of what intimacy means to you, and to be conscious of your physical and sexual boundaries. Right? Because it's like, I can't even imagine if I set a sexual boundary for myself and then somebody pushed past. I allowed somebody to push past and push past my boundary. I can't even get upset with them, because that's on me. I should have stayed steadfast and held my ground when it came to my boundary. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about types of boundaries, 5 types of boundaries, right? So we talked about the physical boundary. That is your personal space, that is your privacy, and that is your body. We talked about sexual boundaries. These are expectations concerning intimacy. So if you don't like certain things while you're being intimate, please say that. If you like certain things, please educate your mate on that. Because when you don't educate your mate about how to please you, they're just doing what they've done to other people. And they hoping that it's going to work with you. But if you want to be fulfilled in your sexual pleasure endeavors, please know your body. Get to know your body. Get a mirror. Look down there. Take a look at her. Because you should be looking at her anyway so you can know when something ain't right. Right? Touch her. Yes, I said it. Touch her. Okay? She ain't gonna bite you. Touch her. So that you can know how to tell your partner how to touch you so that you can have a happy ending. Some people think that masturbation is a sin. Some think that it's nasty. Some people think that, it's so many different views around masturbation. But one thing I know is masturbation is a way for you to learn your body sexually so that you will know how to educate your partner on how to please you. Right? So that you will know how to get pleased, so that you would know how to reach, what need to be done to reach your G-spot, right? So you would know where are your hot spots on your body. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how you look at it. Everybody got their own opinions about it. But I really think that it helps you to figure yourself out and your thoughts about pleasure and what pleases you. It's some great books out there when it comes to sexual pleasure for women. Right? Just go on Amazon and you could put in sexual pleasure for women. And if you're uncomfortable with when it comes to like sex, let me look up a book. Because there is this book and I always forget the name of the book. That you can read if you are not as comfortable with sex. Y'all, hold on. Give me just a minute. I'm gonna find it. Give me a minute. So there are a couple of books. There's this book called Slow Sex. Slow Sex. And it just talks about like slowing things down. Because sometimes, it's a difference between effing, having sex, and making love. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference. And so, Slow Sex is a really good book because it talks about, like I said, just kind of slowing things down. And believe it or not, like when you slow things down, the pleasure is way more intensified. When you effing, it's like you just trying to get it in quick, fast, boom, boom, boom. We done. We good. You good. I'm good. All right. Right. But slow sex is slowing it down. Slow sex is more of like making love. You know what I'm saying? But the name of the book that I was trying to find is called Come As You Are. It's called Come As You Are, and it's by Dr. Emily Nagoski. Come As You Are, the surprising new science that will transform your sex life. It's a good book backed by research on how to it's how to teach women how to transform their sex life so that they can have good sex. Okay? So if you're uncomfortable, when it comes to intimacy, go educate yourself, boo, so that you can be pleased out here with everybody else. All right? You deserve pleasure too. Yes, you do. You deserve pleasure too. So definitely you can go and take a look at that book. And it's a great book, to help you to, and the book is not just for women. It's for men can read it too. Right. And so it's a really good book just to kind of help you to be able to get more comfortable with intimacy. Okay. So we've physical, sexual, two different types of boundaries that you have to set. The third one is intellectual. These boundaries concern your thoughts and beliefs. Intellectual boundaries are not respected when someone dismisses another person's ideas and opinions. So, intellectual boundaries. This can go in several directions, right? Because it's so, like when I say this word, intellectual boundaries, it reminds me of guarding my gates, right? Being mindful of what I listen to, being mindful of what I speak, guarding my gates, right? But intellectual boundaries is you placing boundaries when it comes to your thoughts and your beliefs, right? So if your thoughts and your beliefs are negative, if they're negative all the time, one of the things I want you to think about is, sometimes your thoughts and your beliefs are going to be negative. Y'all, I'm sorry. It is a doggone gnat or something in here. The cleaning people see, that's what I'm talking about. Let me just let me just step to the side for a minute. See, we talking about, it ain't even really the side because we talking about boundaries, right? So here I am in this office by myself, trying to record this podcast for y'all. Here come the cleaning people. Now, mind you, outside of my door, as well as soon as you come in, there are signs that says mask required when entering. You see the blinds are open. So that means somebody in here. You see my car because you know my car. Y'all come in with no mask on. So then I had to stop the podcast, y'all. Because some reason GarageBand does not have a pause button, and I really don't understand that, but I digress. I had to stop the podcast because I got to tell y'all to put masks on. Why? See, they pushed past my boundaries. I set the boundary outside the door before you came in here. That sign has been up on that wall since March 2020. It is August 2021. And you still walked in here with no mask on. And then they did go and put the mask on. But now I'm a little paranoid, right? So after they left, I had to go up in there and spray the air. I don't even know if that works, but I do it. You know what I'm saying? See, they pushed past my boundaries. See? Now, I could have just let them come on in if I was a people pleaser and I didn't want to say no, I didn't want to be assertive. No, I'm going to be assertive, boo, because we're talking about our lives. And in this era of COVID, if y'all know y'all cleaning, y'all should be putting on masks coming in these buildings. Like, for real. Anywho. So, we've covered physical boundaries, we've covered sexual boundaries, and we're talking about intellectual boundaries. So if your thoughts are negative, and they are negative often, sometimes your thoughts are negative because you just been through, sometimes we're in storms, right? And that storm can last for a while. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes storms can last for years. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in a storm and you're dealing with depression, anxiety, sometimes you can't help but to be negative because that's just where you are. That's what you're dealing with. And hopefully you're in therapy and you're working your way through it. But people on the outside, your friends, your families may not understand that. They may feel like you're just nitpicking or, just being negative. But people don't understand if they haven't been through what you've been through. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, yes, people can come off as negative a lot. But that's because their thoughts and their thoughts and sometimes their beliefs are there. because they're suffering with mental health issues and some imbalance. And when we think about this COVID area, I think all of us have we all have some imbalance. I think all of us, especially us African Americans, not especially in all of us, but us African Americans, we have trauma when it comes to all the racial injustice that's been going on over this last year and a half, really over since the beginning of time. Yeah. And so, so we got to be understanding when it comes to that for some people, right? And not judgmental. But on the flip side, when it comes to yourself, you need to be respectful of your own thoughts and beliefs boundaries. If you know that your thoughts and beliefs are negative and you're not suffering with any kind of mental health or issue, or even if you are suffering with mental health, you need to get help with that. Right? Because, that can come off in so many ways when your thoughts and your beliefs are negative. Right? At that point, you're not respecting yourself. And, as I said earlier, sometimes, when we're not respecting our own, when we're not trusting of our own voice and our ability to make decisions, that's another level of intellectual boundaries that needs to be set with yourself. You got to set the boundary when it comes to all that negativity. You got to set the boundary when it comes to believing in all of that negativity, because sometimes our feelings are not true. Sometimes our thoughts and our beliefs are not true. That's why episode 16, I talked about core beliefs and values. If you didn't listen to that episode, please go back and listen to that, because that is the foundation for living authentically. That's your foundation. That's what you stand on. Right? So when it comes to intellectual boundaries, you really need to, pay attention there, because it's very important. You want to be at a place where you can respect your own choices, where you can respect your own decisions, your own voice, where you can trust your ability to make good decisions. You know what I'm saying? So in the example of intellectual boundaries are not respected when someone dismisses another person's ideas and opinions, it goes for you too. When you dismiss your own ideas and your own opinions. But you also need to set boundaries with people who tend to overstep when it comes to your ideas and your opinions. When it comes to people who don't know how to respect your emotions and make it all about themselves. You understand what I'm saying? That is intellectual boundary trespassing. Stop letting people trespass. Where that dog at? Where that dog behind the gate with that trespass sign on it? You know what I'm saying? Stop letting people trespass when it comes to your intellect, to your intellect, when it comes to your ideas, your opinions, your beliefs. You got every right to believe and have your own opinions. Believe what you want and have your own opinions. You got every right to do that. Everybody may not agree, but people don't have the right to push past your boundary when it comes to that. If they don't like it, cool, move on. You know what I'm saying? But this is really about you. How are you setting boundaries when it comes to negative thoughts and beliefs in your life? When it comes to talking about yourself negatively, right? When it comes to personal integrity and going back to those 6 pillars of self-esteem, when we talk about walking your talk in that personal integrity pillar, right? So all of that is intellectual. You want to have intellectual boundaries when it comes to negativity, when it comes to self-defeating, when it comes to imposter syndrome, right? Those things are not going to serve you any good. Any good. You know what I'm saying? So intellectual boundaries are definitely key because it sits in your thoughts and beliefs. And when we think about, cognitive behavioral model, and we think about, behavior change, when we think about diagnoses, some of these diagnoses, it starts with your thoughts. And if you can control your thoughts, then you can control your emotions. And if you control your emotions, then you can control your behavior. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on to emotional. So I'm sorry. And if you think about this, the whole talk about emotional intelligence, like that's what that is about. It's about you connecting with your emotions. It's about assertiveness. It's about being able to set boundaries. Like, please go research. Lord, I done had a brain. Emotional intelligence. Okay. All right. Number 4 is emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries, right? This refers to your feelings, right? Example, you might not feel comfortable sharing your feelings about everything with a friend or a partner. Instead, you prefer to share gradually over time, or you prefer to not share and journal. Put it in your journal. So when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to your emotional, your personal feelings, as I said earlier, everybody got the right to have their own feelings about whatever. But what you don't have the right to do is push your feelings on other people. Right? You got to that's a boundary, right? Not pushing your feelings on other people. You understand what I'm saying? So emotional boundaries is not allowing other people to control your emotions, right? Example, I give a couple of examples in the 6 pillar of self-esteem, the episode related to personal responsibility. You can't let people dictate how you are going to feel. You can't give people control over your emotions. So just because somebody acting a fool, you don't have to join in with them. Just because your mate is being defensive, you don't have to be defensive with them. Stay in your shoes. Remain true to who you are. Stay in your authenticity. Stop validating your mate with defensiveness, right? Anger. Stop validating those negative behaviors. Right? Because when you meet your mate in defensiveness, when you meet your friend in defensiveness, when you meet your family member in defensiveness, the message goes out of the door. Boundaries have been crossed all over the place, and nothing good is going to come of it. You know what I'm saying? So your emotional boundaries is key, because oftentimes when it comes to depression and anxiety, people are letting other people push past their boundaries, and it's increasing that social anxiety. It's increasing those depressive episodes. It's increasing those thoughts of suicide. So emotional boundary setting is very important. And you have to set that boundary with yourself as well as with other people. That's all of these boundaries that I'm discussing today. You know what I'm saying? And so our last boundary is financial boundaries. That one, all of these are very important. Financial boundaries, Lord knows we have to set boundaries with that. Financial boundaries. It's all about money. Right? So if you like to save money, not spend it on the trendy things, you might not want to loan money to a friend. Or, I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. financial boundaries is all about money and how you deal with money, right? If you have issues, if you got strong, rigid financial boundaries, that means you're saving for the future. Your family can't go on vacations. Your wife or your girlfriend can't buy a new dress. Your husband can't go buy him some shoes. You only buying the necessities, and none of your wants is being taken care of. That's rigid financial boundaries. Healthy boundaries is setting a budget, putting away for some savings, and still being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. I'm sorry, y'all. I said labor. It's time for me to wrap this up because I'm getting a little hungry. So you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Lord have mercy. Labor. Right? And so I've heard this several times in couples therapy with couples when it comes to finances. Either one is just too tight and the other one is too loose, or everybody is doing their own thing financially, got their own separate accounts, and no kind of partnership is happening with the money outside of paying bills together. And so when it comes to finances and relationships, that is definitely an area where you got to work together as a team, especially when you have goals, because you should have relationship goals, right? You should have financial goals, right? Family goals. So when it comes to boundaries and your finances, this is very important because you don't want to mismanage your money. You don't want to put yourself in a tight space of just kind of living to pay the bills, right? You want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? So you don't want to be too lax with money. So then when your hot water heater breaks, you have no money to get it fixed. You become dependent on credit cards. You're running up debt. You are lending out money to people who will never pay you back. You are forever robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like, that is loose or no boundaries. But healthy financial boundaries is, like I said, paying your bills first. That way you know how much money you got left to play with, to save with, to do things with, right? That's one of the things my mom taught me. You know, my mom taught me how to use the old school checkbook ledger. Every time you make a purchase, you write down how much you spent. And she taught me pay your bills first, and then you know how much money you got to play with. You pay your bills, you put up some savings, and then you know what you got to play with, right? Don't go out doing all this spending and all of that, and then you go pay your bills. Then you don't have enough money to pay all your bills. So now you got to go ask for money. Now you got to pull out the credit card. So financial boundaries are definitely key when it comes to the quality of your life. When you're responsible, quality is a whole lot better than being financially irresponsible and broke all the time. Okay? All right. So we've covered the 5 types of boundaries. We've talked about what boundaries are. We've talked about rigid boundaries and loose and open boundaries, right? We've talked about those 2 ways boundaries help with expectations. So I think we've covered a good amount of information today in this podcast. Right? So what I want to end with this episode, I want to end with this. As you work to set boundaries, please take into consideration the 5 we talked about today. Right? Take each one of these in consideration. Actually, I just want you to sit down. That's your homework. I want you to sit down and I want you to write out physical boundaries, sexual boundaries. I'm sorry, y'all. I got a net. Sorry, y'all. I have a net. a gnat in my office that is really irritating me. I'm so sorry for that. I was trying to get it. I apologize for the noise. But I want you guys, for homework, I want you to write down physical boundaries, sexual boundaries, intellectual boundaries, emotional boundaries, and financial boundaries. And I want you to write under each one, what are the boundaries you feel you need to set. I want you to go back and listen again to what rigid boundaries are and what loose boundaries are. Right? And I want you to keep that in mind as you set your boundaries, because we want you to have healthy boundaries. We want you to have balance in the middle boundaries, not loose or rigid. Okay? So I hope that this episode really helped you guys out. I don't know how many parts I'm going to have to boundaries, because boundaries is just so important to your mental health as well as to living authentically. Right? It's so important to your quality of life. Like it really is. You know what I'm saying? And so make sure you guys sit down and do your homework. Go ahead and write it out. That way, when you're faced with physical boundaries or somebody trying to push past your sexual boundary, you already know what your non-negotiables and your negotiables are. You know, you already know where you stand when it comes to emotional boundaries, intellectual boundaries. You already know where you stand when you get in a relationship and it comes to financial boundaries. Don't be afraid to set your boundaries. You got every right to do so. Just make sure that they're healthy. Okay? Just make sure that they are healthy boundaries for you. Now, boundary setting, it ain't going to feel as healthy for the other people you setting the boundaries for. Right? Because they're used to you allowing them to push past your boundary. So they may look at you differently. They may think you've changed. You think you better and all of these types of things. But no, it's just you choosing to do better for yourself, for your quality of life. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying no, with taking time out for yourself, and with setting boundaries. You do not have to sit and try to please everybody. It's exhausting. Girl, you tired. You know what I'm saying? So don't put yourself in those types of situations. And if you are, work on it. That's why I have this podcast, right? Because I want to give you guys information you can use to enhance the quality of your life so that you can live authentically and happy. So you can be the person God created, so you can be your authentic self and not a product of your environment. That's my mission here with this podcast. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to end this episode here. I hope that you guys really get some great jewels out of this episode, out of these last 2 episodes. If so, please don't be afraid to hit me up on Instagram, on my Mission Dorothy Facebook page. On Facebook, it's Mission Dorothy with the number 1 after it. So it's Mission Dorothy 1 on Facebook. And on Instagram, it's Mission Dorothy. All right? And so leave me a comment. Let me know how you guys are feeling about the podcast, the content that I bring. Let me know if this information is helped you in any kind of way. Let me know if there are topics that you guys would like for me to cover when it comes to authentic living and just the struggles of, being authentic. Talk to your girl, right? There's a link down in the notes, and you can leave me a message if you want to. So reach out to your girl. Let me know how things going. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, you guys, please stay safe. Work to be balanced. Work to live authentically. And set them boundaries. Okay. All right, you guys. Until our next episode, have a fantastic rest of the day. I'll see you in the next episode.